In a small town beside a gentle river there lived a girl named Malee. She carried a secret gift that no one else knew about. She could see people's emotions as soft glowing colors floating in the air around them, like wisps of warm, beautiful smoke.
Bright red meant anger, swirling fast around people who were fighting. Soft blue meant sadness, drifting slowly around those who cried alone. And shining gold meant hope, sparkling around those who were dreaming of something beautiful.
Malie loved watching those colors. They told her who needed help, who needed a friend, and who needed just a small smile. She would quietly go to them and help, never once telling anyone her secret.
But there was one person who knew Malee's secret. That was Grandpa C, an elderly man in a long robe painted with faded brushstrokes. He sat waiting at her door one evening and said gently, "Your gift is very precious, little one. Please take good care of it."
One morning Malee woke up feeling something was very wrong. The world outside was unnaturally silent. There was no laughter, no crying. When she looked out her window, everything she could see had turned completely gray.
Malie ran into the village with a worried heart. People were still walking, but their eyes were blank and empty. No colors floated around any of them at all. It was as though every single emotion had been drained away overnight.
Grandpa C sat inside his home looking deeply sorrowful. His old ceramic pot had split in two. He told Malee that the Gray Spirit had escaped, and it had swallowed the last color in the world. Without it returned, people would soon become hollow shells with no hearts at all.
Malee looked down at her own hands. Even though the world outside was gray, a faint warm shimmer still floated around her fingertips. She understood then that she was the only one who still had color left, and she was the only one who could save the world.
Grandpa C told Malee that the Gray Spirit liked to hide in places people had forgotten to feel, like unopened storerooms or unnoticed street corners. Malee picked up the old man's worn paintbrush and set out alone with a brave and steady heart.
Malie found the Gray Spirit for the first time in an old sweet shop that had been closed for many years. It floated in the center of the dusty room, shaped like a teardrop made of gray fog, looking terribly lonely and sad. Malie was not afraid. She sat down and whispered softly, "You feel lonely, don't you?"
The Gray Spirit went very still. No one had ever spoken to it before. Malee told it gently that every feeling had its own worth. Even sadness could be beautiful, because it reminded us of something we once loved.
The Gray Spirit trembled gently and let out a faint flicker of color, but it had not yet returned the last color to the world. Malie could see it was still afraid, so she decided not to leave. She would stay, and speak with it again, day after day.
Malee returned to the Gray Spirit every day. She told it stories. Stories of people who were angry but then said sorry. Stories of people who were heartbroken but rose again. Stories of people who hoped and saw their dreams come true. The Gray Spirit listened carefully to every word. On the third day, the Gray Spirit began to glow softly with faint traces of color around it. Malee picked up her paintbrush and touched it lightly to the air around the spirit, as though painting something invisible. A gentle rainbow shimmer slowly began to appear.
At last the Gray Spirit spoke for the very first time. Its voice was soft and trembling. It said, "I did not mean to swallow the world's colors. I was only hungry. Hungry for feeling, because no one had ever noticed me at all." Malee heard this and understood instantly.
Malie set down her paintbrush and held out her open palm toward the Gray Spirit. She said, "From now on you will never be lonely again. I will be your friend." The little spirit rolled gently down into Malee's cupped hands, warmer and brighter than it had ever been.
When Malee raised her hands and blew a gentle breath, the last color floated free from her palms. It burst open into a blazing rainbow across the entire sky. Red, blue, gold, and 1,000 other shades scattered outward like fireworks made of pure feeling.
Color slowly returned to every corner of the town. Trees turned green again. Flowers bloomed in pink and yellow, and best of all, people began to feel once more. Some laughed, some cried, and around everyone, gentle glowing auras of color floated again.
Grandpa C came running out to Malee and hugged her tightly with a joyful heart. His old cracked pot slowly mended itself as if by magic, and it was filled with more vivid colors than ever before. Malee smiled and whispered, "The last color never really disappeared. It was only waiting for someone to notice it."
From that day on, Malee and the last color became inseparable friends. Malee taught everyone in town to notice the feelings of those around them, because every feeling has its own color and its own beauty. And the world became beautiful again, all because one brave little girl cared enough to pay attention.